In D&D 5e specifically, Clerics are one of the strongest classes in the game. They sport a ton of useful spells that only they get access to, have a decent health pool, and possess the potential to wear various types of equipment based on their subclasses. But, like every class, they're not without their weaknesses. So in today's video, we're going to go over some of the best choices of magic items you might consider taking to either help cover your weaknesses or help strengthen your already powerful class features in general. And starting off at number 10, we have the Staff of Healing from the Dungeons Master's Guide. This is a rare staff which requires attunement by a bard, cleric, or druid, and comes with 10 charges that recharge at a rate of 1d6 plus 4 every day at dawn. You can spend some of these charges with your action to cast one of 3 spells, using the appropriate number of charges for whichever one you're casting. You can expend 1 charge to cast Cure Wounds, and even upcast it to 4th level by expending 1 additional charge per spell level. Or you can spend 2 charges to cast Lesser Restoration, or 5 charges to cast Mass Cure Wounds. The ability to cast free healing spells is always welcome in D&D 5e, since that meant you could reserve your own spell slots for larger, more powerful spells, like Spirit Guardians or Spiritual Weapon, without needing to decide which one to use. Having an on-demand Mass Cure Wounds is especially useful, as it could not only heal multiple creatures, but could also bring back creatures from the brink of death by restoring at least 1 hit point if more than one party member gets down, without ever needing to spend any major resources. Free Lesser Restorations are also fairly useful for getting rid of diseases and certain conditions on the fly. And if you're a Life Domain Cleric, you even get more uses of Cure Wounds and Mass Cure Wounds due to your Disciple of Life subclass feature, granting these spells additional healing equal to 2 plus the spell's level. Overall, a great item, but not one that would stand up on its own in modern 5e, especially since Clerics don't exactly fit the healbot stereotype some players seem to think they are. There's also the small downside of the staff having a 5% chance to break whenever you expend its last charge, meaning you technically can't use the listed spells as much as you might think, lest you incur the wrath of RNG gods by rolling a 1 on a d20 roll to not lose the staff in the blink of an eye as it vanishes in a flash of light. That being said, the staff itself is still good enough to take the 10th spot on this list. And at number 9, we have the Pearl of Power from the DMG. This is an uncommon item which can be attuned to by a spellcaster, and grants the user the ability to use their action to speak the Pearl's command word, and regain 1 expended spell slot. And if you're a Warlock that no longer uses 3rd level spell slots as a result of being high enough level to only have 4th level spell slots or higher, then the regained spell slot becomes a 3rd level spell slot instead. You can also only do this once per day before the Pearl can be used again at dawn. Regaining spell slots is always handy to have, as any kind of spellcaster and clerics are no exceptions. Having an extra 3rd level spell slot to use lets you use Spirit Guardians an extra time, or Mass Healing Word for some extra AoE healing, or maybe you have a dead ally and accidentally expended too many spell slots, so now you need 1 for Revivify. The list goes on, as the possibilities are pretty much endless when it comes to what you could use regain spell slot for, and would highly depend on what you prepared for the day as well. That being said, having 1 extra spell slot that you can use per day is far from being the best thing you can have on a cleric, but is definitely far from being the worst. For such a simple effect, the Pearl of Power holds a lot of weight, and you'd be remiss not to have one on your cleric at all times, especially it being an uncommon item means that you can effectively find one at the beginning of the campaign, and it would be good enough to hold you over until even the late game where much better items come along. Even then, there are plenty of 3rd level spells that are worth bringing into the late game, such as the aforementioned Revivify spell in case someone in your party actually dies and you don't want to expend a high level spell slot for your Revivify, for instance. This, of course, works in reverse, where if you have something like I Speak with the Dead prepared, and use it in a roleplay scene, but want to regain the spell slot before an upcoming fight. Overall, the Pearl of Power is a very nice magic item to have, and allows for a bit more flexibility than your average Joe. However, with plenty of other more powerful items out there, the Pearl of Power does have to take a lower spot on this list, albeit at number 9. And scurrying around at number 8, we have the Scarab of Protection from the DMG. This legendary beetle-shaped medallion requires attunement as well as needing to be held in your hand for 1 round, in order to gain its 2 powerful benefits. The first benefit is advantage on saving throws against spells, which is on all the time. The second benefit essentially gives you 12 legendary resistances that you can use against necromancy spells or harmful effects that originate from an undead lich creature, allowing you to use a reaction to expend one of the medallion's 12 charges to turn a failed saving throw from either into a successful one. This magic item works well with any character, but especially for clerics, since they tend to be one of the few that have regular access to healing and support spells. So granting them any form of protection is extremely useful, as they can effectively bypass liches with ease by not only having advantage on not only all of its spells, but due to spells like Disintegrate being considered magical effects originating from an undead creature, even if you fail your dex save against it, you can instead succeed thanks to the Scarab. This is one of the few ways in the entire game to acquire legendary resistances yourself, albeit at the cost of your reaction, rather than being for free like with NPCs. However, what makes the Scarab of Protection only worth taking the number 8 spot on this list, and not any higher, is the fact that, while very powerful, it does come with the drawbacks of requiring specific enemies or spells to take full advantage of its legendary resistances. While you can completely nullify a lich, you can't really do the same for, say, Orcus, since he is a fiend. You would only be able to get legendary resistance on his necromancy spells like Circle of Death or Finger of Death, for instance. Not only that, but the Scarab of Protection only comes with 12 charges that do not recharge like other magic items, meaning once you're through them, the medallion becomes useless. And even though the advantage on saving throws against spells is universal, this is only true so long as the Scarab has at least one charge, since the Scarab is destroyed and crumbles into powder once the final charge is used up. There are far better magic items that are online more consistently than a 12-use legendary resistance, but still worth mentioning due to its unique effect of essentially giving you a boss-exclusive mechanic, even if you can't use it forever. And at number 7 on the list, we have the Rod of Resurrection from the DMG. This is a legendary rod that can only be attuned to by clerics, druids, and paladins, and comes with 5 charges that you can use to cast the spells Heal or Resurrection. Heal costs 1 charge and heals 1 creature within 60 feet of you by a flat 70, and removes blindness, deafness, and disease affecting the target. Meanwhile, you can expend all 5 charges to cast Resurrection on a creature that's been dead for no more than a century, that didn't die of old age, and isn't undead, bringing that creature back as good as new, but with a -4 penalty to all d20 rolls they make, reducing that penalty by 1 for each long rest they take. While not being an actual weapon like the Staff of Healing, the Rod of Resurrection follows the same goal of keeping your allies alive by providing exceptionally powerful healing up to 5 times at full charge. Or you can hold on to the rod in case of emergency, where someone in your party dies and you can't, for whatever reason, cast any of your other revive spells. The biggest downside of the rod, however, is the fact that once you use its last charge, it has a 5% chance of bursting with radiance, disappearing forever, much in the same manner as the Staff of Healing. Unfortunately, the charges on this rod only regenerate at a rate of 1 charge per day, meaning you kind of need to hold on to the rod if you ever want to use a resurrection spell. And even if you do, you'll be rolling those 5% odds every time since it consumes all charges at once. However, if you're rolling to forego the resurrection portion of the rod's namesake, you could technically get 4 free heal spells in a single day with 0 problems. Or if you never let it go below 1 charge, 1 free heal spell every day. That's still 70 extra hit points you're giving to an ally that you don't even need to cover with your own spells, which is why the Rod of Resurrection acts as a nice side grade to the Staff of Healing, and is what makes it worth being at the number 7 spot on this list. And touching down at the number 6 spot on this list are the Winged Boots from the DMG. This pair of uncommon boots grants you a flying speed equal to your walking speed while you're attuned and wearing them, and you can use these boots to fly around for up to 4 hours, with each individual costing a minimum of 1 minute per use. If you're ever flying when the duration expires, you descend at a rate of 30 feet per round until you land, and for every 12 hours you don't use them, the boots regain 2 hours of flying capability, which is an incredible recharge speed, especially for an uncommon magic item. Like most classes that can make good use of these boots, Clerics gain the benefit of being able to reach previously unreachable places on the map, allowing them to reach targets they otherwise wouldn't be able to without some kind of vertical movement. If you're feeling saucy and want to get in the face of a creature that's flying, or a ranged attacker that's perching on a high ground, you can fly up to them and then hit them with a powerful Inflict Wound spell, a first level Cleric spell which deals 3d10 damage on melee range and gains a 1d10 extra damage for every spell level used beyond first. Or if you want a little bit of extra healing from Cure Wounds rather than Healing Word, but that creature is on a ledge, you can close the gap by flying to them rather than finding a way around. Or you can play hide and seek around massive pillars and bits of high ground by casting something like Guiding Bolt on a creature for 46 radiant damage at a range of 120 feet, and inflicting them with the effect where the next attack roll made against them has advantage. Then just pulling yourself back into cover and out of sight from any major dangers. There are probably many other ways you could utilize flying as a cleric, but the main reason the wing boots take the number 6 spot on this list is because it is one of the only ways that a cleric can achieve any form of flight compared to other spellcasters that usually have easy access to the fly spell. Unlike other magic items where giving a class something they normally couldn't do, this technically doesn't break anything major for clerics. It just enhances what they can already do by providing more movement and thus extra utility for their own build that they otherwise didn't have before, so it doesn't take a higher spot on this list as a result. And at number 5, we have the ever-reliable Ring of Spell Storing from the DMG. This rare ring requires attunement in order to use, and comes with 1d6 minus 1 levels worth of stored spells that are chosen at random by the DM. As for the ring itself, it allows you to store spells inside of it for later use. You can only store up to 5 levels worth of spells, so 5 first level spells, 1 5th level spell, 2 second level spells, and a first level spell, or some other combination of leveled spells, so long as they total up to 5. Any creature can do this by touching the ring as they cast the spell into it, using up the spell slot in the process. After that, while you're wearing the ring, you can cast any of the spells stored within it, assuming you fulfill the conditions for casting that spell. The level of the spell save DC, spell attack bonus, and the spell casting ability are those used by the original caster, but is otherwise treated as if you were the one casting the spell. Unfortunately, once you use the spell, it is consumed, and thus freeing up space for more spells to be stored later. It should be no secret as to why the Ring of Spell Storing takes a high spot on this list, nor should it come as any surprise that it's on here to begin with. Storing castings of your own spells to free up space later on is a tactic as old as time, as you can expend some of your remaining spell slots at the end of the day to have them ready for an after a long rest where your expended spell slots will be restored anyway. You can give yourself 5 extra castings of Healing Word to bring up unconscious allies with 0 hit points, or give yourself 5 extra castings of Inflict Wounds for plenty of extra 3d10 necrotic damage attacks. Or you might give yourself a free casting of Spirit Guardians and Spiritual Weapon, and so on and so forth. Alternatively, however, you could also use the ring to cast other people's spells as well. So if your wizard wants to give you some extra protection, they might give you a couple of castings of the shield spell to use as temporary AC booster of a +5 whenever you would take a hit, followed by 1 casting of a fireball, just to give you a funny damage option to combo with their own fireball if you really wanted to. Or you can do a combination of your spells and your wizard spells as an alternative. Whatever the case may be, the Ring of Spell Storing is a powerful staple for any spellcaster, and continues to hold true for clerics when it comes to utility and for versatility. This is also why the ring takes a higher spot on this list than the Pearl of Power mentioned earlier, since while the Pearl of Power is great at providing 1 extra spell slot per day, the Ring of Spell Storing can act as multiple extra spell slots per day, if you use it right. All in all, an amazing item that any cleric would love to have their hands on any day. And at number 4, we have a tie between the Talisman of Pure Good and the Talisman of Ultimate Evil from the DMG. These are legendary talisman which can only be attuned to creatures of a certain alignment. The Talisman of Pure Good can only be attuned to by a creature of a good alignment, while the Talisman of Ultimate Evil can only be attuned to by a creature of evil alignment. Both provide the same exact benefits, albeit as polar opposites. A neutral creature that touches the talisman takes 66 radiant or necrotic damage, radiant if they touch a Pure Good and necrotic if they touch Ultimate Evil, while a creature of the opposing alignment takes 8d6 of these damage types. So if a good creature touches the Talisman of Ultimate Evil, they'll take 8d6 necrotic damage and so on. While you do need to be a creature of a certain alignment to attune to these items, only clerics and paladins gain the full benefits of either talisman. A good cleric or paladin that is holding or wearing the Talisman of Pure Good, they gain a +2 bonus to spell attack rolls. The Talisman of Ultimate Evil works the same way, but for evil clerics and paladins instead. The second effect of these items, however, are what really make the talismans extremely good, or evil rather, and worth using. Both talismans come with 7 charges and allow you to use your action to expend a charge from it, choosing 1 creature you can see on the ground within 120 feet of yourself. If that creature is the opposing alignment than your own, or rather your talisman, then that creature must succeed a DC 20 dexterity saving throw or be consumed by a flaming fissure that opens up beneath it, swallowing that creature whole and leaving no traces of it behind. Essentially, this item grants you 7 attempts to instant kill any creature whose alignment is the opposite of your own. Are you the lawful good cleric that has sworn to purge all evil from the realm, and the BBEG just happens to be the ultimate embodiment of evil incarnate? Well, with the Talisman of Pure Good, you can just end the big bad evil guy with extreme ease once you and your party have burned through its legendary resistances, sealing it away forever. However, maybe the BBEG also possesses the Talisman of Ultimate Evil, making confronting the BBEG all the more dangerous, as it could end up pulling the same thing on you, with arguably better results since you don't have legendary resistances to back you up. As for why these magic items take the number 4 spot on this list, it's mostly because, like the Scarab of Protection, they only have a set number of charges before they ultimately get destroyed, which is 7. So you have 7 chances to instantly kill powerful creatures you might not want to deal with before the talismans are destroyed and unusable. It's also worth noting that, also just like the Scarab, the +2 bonus to spell attack rolls is a permanent effect so long as the talisman has at least 1 charge, which can stack with other bonuses to spell attack rolls if you have any. But because of this, it may be worth considering never expanding that last charge if it means having the extra bonus to hit if you really need it. Regardless, the Talisman of Pure Good and Talisman of Ultimate Evil are both incredible magic items to have, even if a bit niche and limited in usage purely because of the unlikely possibility to instantly kill the aspect of Tiamat and the aspect of Bahamut if the stars align. And at number 3, we have the Necklace of Prayer Beads from the DMG. This is a rare necklace that provides a varying number of magical beads determined by rolling 1d4 plus 2, and whose types are also randomly determined by rolling or by the DM's choice, ranging from aquamarine to black pearls or topaz. And what makes these beads special is the fact that you can cast certain spells through these beads as bonus actions instead of their usual casting time of 1 action. In terms of spells you can cast, there's Bless, Cure Wounds at 2nd level, Lesser Restoration, Greater Restoration, Branding Smite, Planar Ally, and Windwalk. Bless is extremely good to cast as a bonus action, since it still frees up your own action to cast a cantrip, or make an attack with your weapon in the same turn, while also benefiting from your own buff of adding a 1d4 to all attack rolls and saving throws made for up to 1 minute. And since Bless affects up to 3 creatures, your allies can also benefit from this spell as well. Cure Wounds at 2nd level is nice because that's 2d8 plus your spellcasting modifier as a bonus action. While it wouldn't have the range of your healing word spells, being able to heal more overall as a bonus action can be much better if you're not in mortal danger. And it's free, so you don't have to worry about your spell slots. Lesser Restoration and Greater Restoration are great spells at getting rid of diseases, conditions, and other debilitating effects, such as curses or ability score reduction. Branding Smite already costs a bonus action, but it is a spell you wouldn't have as a cleric as it is a paladin exclusive spell. Still, an extra 2d6 radiant damage while also preventing that creature from benefiting from the effects of invisibility might be useful in some situations. But the meaty spells you might be able to cast if you're lucky is Planar Ally, which summons a celestial, elemental, or fiend to aid you in your endeavors, but at a cost. Sometimes this cost can come in the form of money or a side quest, or whatever your DM decides would work best, and they'll fulfill their duty to the best of their ability or until the agreed upon duration of service expires. This is worth noting as Planar Ally normally takes 10 minutes to cast, but because of the way the Necklace of Prayer Bead works, you can actually cast it as a bonus action. So it has much more use during the heat of battle where you might pray for divine intervention of some kind, but don't wish to roll for the low odds of your deity appearing. Lastly, you have Windwalk, which has a number of utility features that you can make use of, such as a 300 feet flying speed and the ability to turn your allies into mist that can bypass most forms of security undetected, since you're all going so fast and can traverse areas that guards normally wouldn't be able to traverse, such as grates, vents, or through cracks in the wall or surface. While you can't do anything other than take the dash action or revert to your normal form, Windwalk as a bonus action, as opposed to its original cast time of 1 minute, makes this a powerful escape option if you or your allies ever need to get out of a sticky situation in a pinch. This all culminates into why the Necklace of Prayer Beads are so high on this list as they are. Spells, which are usually niche or okay as they are, suddenly become even better because of their much better action economy, requiring you to only spend your bonus action to use. What makes this item even better, however, is the fact that, unlike most magic items where they have a set number of charges that may or may not recharge at dawn, the used spells from the necklace all recharge at dawn every day. So there really is no reason why you shouldn't be using these spells regularly every single day. The Necklace of Prayer Beads is highly regarded as a fantastic magic item, and it's no wonder why it takes up such a high spot on this list at number 3. And at number 2, we have the Amulet of the Devout from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This amulet requires attunement by a cleric or paladin and grants you a bonus to your spell attack rolls and saving throws DCs of your spells equal to the variant you're wearing, which can be a +1 to a +3. You also get a free use out of your Channel Divinity feature, as this amulet will allow you to use it once per dawn without expending any uses of it, which is always good to have since Channel Divinity features tend to be on the resource intensive side. Clerics have only one use of their Channel Divinity once they first gain one at 2nd level, then gain a second one at 6th level, followed by gain a third one all the way at 18th level. So being able to increase the maximum number of uses of your Channel Divinity is invaluable, as you can effectively reach the cap as soon as you reach 6th level as opposed to 18th. There are also plenty of Channel Divinity features that are really good to have a second charge of. The Grave Domain's Cleric 2nd level Channel Divinity Path to the Grave allows you to spend your action to give one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself vulnerability to all damage of the next attack that hits them before the curse ends. Being able to outright double the damage of your Rogue's Sneak Attack or Paladin's Divine Smite twice a day on a big enemy right at 2nd level is an incredible synergy, since both classes absolutely love dealing high amounts of burst damage whenever possible. An extra use of Life Cleric's Channel Divinity Preserve Life can also keep your party up in a pinch, as it allows you to choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of yourself and use a pool of hit points equal to 5 times your cleric to spread around the party and restore their hit points, but can't restore more than half of any given creature's maximum number of hit points. Having one use of this feature means that you can keep your party from dying at least once per day at 2nd level, but with an Amulet of Devout, that increases to twice per day before even reaching 6th level. To put it into another perspective, Preserve Life doesn't require your party to actually be conscious, meaning that if one or more of your party members have their hit points reduced to 0 and happen to be in range, you effectively gain a party res twice a day as opposed to just once, which can very easily turn the tide of a battle in your favor, as opposed to struggling with single target healing spells or using valuable spell slots for a Mass Healing Word that wouldn't heal as much to begin with. Or you could combo Preserve Life and Mass Healing Word for those sweet big heals anyway. Another excellent use of the amulet is in conjunction with the Tempest Domain's Cleric's Channel Divinity Destructive Wrath, which lets you deal maximum damage with any lightning or thunder damage instead of rolling. So if you have Call Lightning, which normally deals 3d10 lightning damage to all creatures within a 5-foot point you choose to conjure it on, you can instead have it deal a flat 30 lightning damage to all of them instead, which is a humongous damage increase. And since Destructive Wrath doesn't require you to cast a cleric spell, you can get a ton of mileage out of being in Order of the Scribe's Wizard, so that you can use your Awakened Spellbook feature to change the damage types of all of your spells to deal lightning or thunder damage, so long as you have a spell learned of that level that deals that damage type in the first place. For example, if you know Lightning Bolt, a 3rd level spell that definitely deals lightning damage, then you can change the damage type of any 3rd level spell to deal lightning damage instead of its normal damage. So if you wanted to cast a Thunderball instead of a Fireball for 8d6 lightning damage or 48 lightning damage through your Channel Divinity, then there is nothing stopping you from doing so. And being able to do this twice per day as early as 2nd level is almost unfair. While not as useful, the bonus to spell attack is nice to have for things like Spiritual Weapon, which can make repeat attack rolls once per turn for some extra force damage, and doesn't require concentration to maintain. But the extra bonus to spell save DC tends to be a lot better and universally used for things like Spirit Guardians, among other things. Spirit Guardians is the 3rd level cleric spell that conjures a small aura of spirits to protect you and your allies of your choice by hurting enemies for 3d8 radiant or necrotic damage, depending on your alignment, and slowing their movement while within the area. The damage is based on a wisdom save, only dealing half the radiant or necrotic damage on a successful save, but their movement being halved is always on so long as they remain within the area. This is widely regarded as one of the best spells in the game, especially for clerics, since it allows you to just deny a small area of the battlefield while forcing melee creatures to either come to you or chase them away, as you bum rush them with them taking 3d8 damage every time they start their turn in it. Regardless, being able to make your spells harder to break out of while also granting you one additional use of your Channel Divinity feature is a powerful combination that is definitely worth such a high spot on this list. And for the final chapter of this video, we'll be going over our number 1 pick, the Book of Exalted Deeds from the DMG. This is an artifact that requires attunement by a creature of good alignment, so this can be kind of limiting depending on your campaign. However, you do gain a bunch of powerful benefits for fitting this criteria. Along with 2 minor beneficial and 2 major beneficial properties, You also get a free +2 to your wisdom stat permanently to a maximum of 24, after spending a total of 80 hours reading and studying the book extensively. As a cleric or paladin, you also gain the additional benefit of having all of your spells count as being cast at 1 level higher. You also get a nice little halo around your head that sheds 10 feet of bright light and 10 feet of dim light beyond that, while also giving you advantage on persuasion checks with good creatures and intimidation checks with evil creatures. Fiends and undead also have disadvantage on attack rolls against you while within the halo's bright light. All of these culminate into one of the best items in the game that you can have, as making all of your spells stronger by default is already really good to begin with. Tack on the fact that this item acts as a nice replacement for the Tome of Understanding, which also increases your wisdom score by 2, or as a way to even gain more wisdom is just icing on the cake. Out of every item on this list, the Book of Exalted Deeds feels like a proper endgame item for a cleric to have, since it just makes them stronger. And unlike other artifacts that come with minor and major detrimental properties, the Book of Exalted Deeds only comes with beneficial properties. And these beneficial properties can be incredibly useful and have the potential to make this item a must-have for your cleric. In terms of minor benefits, these can come in the form of gaining proficiency in one skill, the DM's choice, to being able to cast up to a 3rd level spell the DM's choosing once per day, unless that spell recharges by rolling a 6 on a d6. Meanwhile, major benefits include more ability score increases to casting up to 7th level spells in the same manner as previously mentioned with 3rd level ones, or a small regeneration of 1d6 hit points at the start of your turn, provided you have at least 1 hit point. So, depending on how lucky you get, you could gain a natural 26 in wisdom if you're lucky enough to have the wisdom score increase from the major beneficial property, the magic item itself, and the Tome of Understanding. The overall potential of this magic item is so good that it feels like an item that rewards any cleric willing to go out of the way to do good deeds frequently, since the only downside of this book is that you must do at least one good thing within a span of 10 days, and never perform evil acts, or else you lose all the benefits granted by the book. However, since this is an artifact that you most likely wouldn't get until the end of a campaign, chances are you are already doing that to begin with, so this is just a strict upgrade to your overall kit.